Good morning. My name is Tom Strickland. Pardon me. It's my great pleasure to be here today to celebrate the beautiful life of May Want, who was May Allen. I'm impressed to see so many people who remember May for good reasons. In years of having conducted funerals, I have noticed that if a child dies or a young person, the whole town turns out. And usually when somebody approaches the magic number of 100 years, Mabel having achieved 96, it's inspiring to see that so many people remember and that she touched the lives of so many. We're here today to support Trevor and her children and her grandchildren. And I'm asking for their support today because I'm going to invite them to participate in sharing what May meant in their life. It's a beautiful thing to see the families and to see the characters that have come from the marriage of Trevor and of May and the 81 years that they have spent together, which has been so strong and so meaningful in the lives of their family and the community and the people who are here. We are here today to extend our love and our sympathy to Trevor and the family because I think at this moment of the fact that Jesus said, "Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted." And that is your role today, is to be here as comfort for the family and to give thanks and to celebrate the life of a beautiful woman in May who gave so much to us in her lifetime. I was but a small boy when I first met Mabel, now known as May because that was what she enjoyed best to be. She was a beautiful, beautiful spirit who was always dignified, placid, and beautiful. Trevor was the first one to notice that. And May was only 15 when they became companions to each other. But more than that, they became soulmates. And that is something that I've learnt to appreciate very much about their marriage and their ministry and their association with the community. I believe that we should today, whilst we are here to mourn her passing, we must celebrate her life. Because indeed her life, in our lives and in my life particularly, Mabel was a beacon of hope. And hope is the most beautiful beginning point of any act of faith. May lived what I would call as an abundant life. I knew Mabel and Trevor very well because I was a kid and they were the closest people to my age group in my childhood. So I I sort of tended to listen and to take a little bit more notice of what they did. And to think that Mabel was only 15 when she and Trevor felt love for each other as school kids. And at the age of 16, when her parents were moving from town, she decided that she was staying back and going to board to remain in Grafton. Now, I don't really know what the reasoning was at the time. I suspect it might have been that her education had to be completed at the high school. But just maybe it might have been a young man who was 1 year older in Trevor who was the attraction for her to remain behind. And when I think of the fact that they achieved 75 years of married life together, that they travelled the journey in this community and in their leadership, both in dairy industry of breeding cattle of high quality, Trevor's work with local government, both in council and the Clarence River County Council Water Conservation. They made wonderful contributions in this community. And so as we do that this morning, I ask you to lend your spirit and your feeling to the gratitude for what has taken place in this community by this family. Now, it's not often we do feel like singing at a time of sadness. And I'm going to ask you please to try, and if a few of you can lend your voice to the hymns, because for me, hymns were very, very important in life. And it seems to still show down through the generations. So I'm really hoping that you can lend a little bit. May has chosen 2 hymns, and I've tried to be brave enough perhaps to say that we're going to sing them. Now, they're old hymns. They go back to the early part of May's life. They carry a message of love and of fellowship, and emphasises to me, and I hope to you, the camaraderie and interdependence that she felt with her Christian covenant. May was raised an Anglican, and as a teenager she was a Sunday school teacher. And I think that this, to my observation anyway, was the message that united Trevor and May as husband and wife to live the life that they have. They were both quiet, shy people by nature, but strong in their spiritual convictions. So as we try to sing these hymns that were May's favourite, I believe that the spirit of that should come through. So I'd ask you please to stand, and we have an accompanist to help us with the tune. We'd like to sing the hymn which was one of May's favourite, which was The Old, Old Path.
There's an old, old path where the sun touch divine of his blessed feet. In this solo path are my friends most dear, and I walk with them with the angels near. In this solo path made strangely sweet by the touch divine of his blessed feet. 'Tis an old path, shadowed veils between, yet I fearless walk with the Nazarene. In this old path made strangely sweet by the touch divine of his blessed feet.
Thank you, Alice, as May's daughter-in-law. She's come to my rescue. Please bear with me in prayer. Oh God, our loving Father, with love in our hearts we gather today to mourn the passing of a dear friend in May, and yet to celebrate with love and affection what she contributed in our lives. She was wise. She could have done many things in life, but because of her dedication and love, she maintained a humble profile. We thank you so much, so sincerely. And we're privileged today to see the character of May in the children and the grandchildren of the families that she's left in our community. We pray for Trevor this morning, who has lost a soulmate after 81 years. And we pray that your Spirit will be with him so that he is able to endure and to know that we are here for him and that your Spirit will be with him. Even as it has been promised, for those that mourn, we ask that your comfort will be with us. And we ask that humbly in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you. Please be seated. I am grateful for the efforts that have been put forward by the family. And Gregor was good enough to be the scribe for the eulogy that I'm about to read. It's quite lengthy, it's quite detailed, and it's quite beautiful. I apologise for the fact that I am a dyslexic reader by nature, so I will do my best. Gladys Mabel was born Gladys Mabel Allen, but she did not want to be known in such terms. She was just May, and that was her choice, because she was a person of the people. She moved to Grafton, moving to several rental houses in a town before her parents built a house in Pound Street. May attended Grafton Primary School and worked with a much-admired headmistress to attain a bursary for high school. This was the beginning of her great love for words and English, and which was manifest in 1940. May attended Grafton High School, where she met her future husband Trevor during the years 41 to 1945. Their romance blossomed in 1944 and was continued ever since. Although her parents chose to move to Brisbane for work, May chose to stay in Grafton, where she boarded with Mrs. Hockey and began working at Gerard's department store in the ladies' fashion department. May received a teacher's scholarship, however, unable to take it up due to the return of men who had been returned from the Second World War. She was a natural, imaginative and spontaneous teacher of her own children and grandchildren. She had versatility over a range of subjects: English, Latin, French, history, geography, visual arts, dressmaking and sewing. And everybody knew her for the endless number of knitting projects that she expressed her love with. She left the mathematics to her husband Trevor, so apparently Trevor was the mathematician, and she was the cultured, educated one in philosophy. By the time she was married on the 14th of December 1949, she was very proud of her achievements of saving £50 to put towards the expenses of starting a family. May married the love of her life, Trevor Keith Want, on the 14th of December 1949 at Christchurch Cathedral. They accidentally caught a goods train south on their honeymoon destination. So that was quite a novel trip. The first 6 years of married life was spent learning the ropes with Trevor's parents in their home with Trevor's other siblings, Cecil, Will and Mary, while they saved for a deposit on their own small farm, the first home at Clorenza, bought in 1956. They spent the years from 1956 to 71 at Clorenza, attending and completing their family. While living with her in-laws, May welcomed her first child in March 1952. She called her Margaret Ann. In 1955, May welcomed her second daughter, Catherine Mary. And a year after moving to their home on the riverbank of Clorenza, May welcomed another daughter, Helen Ruth, in 1957. Wonderful. 4 years later, she surprised the family with a baby boy. She immediately called him Trevor James. It was March of 1961. Margaret started school at Swan Creek in 1957, which introduced May more directly to school community interactions and services. She became an active member of the P&C Association, raising funds to buy a refrigerator to keep the provided milk cold and a television. May loved being part of the vital community, which included many events at the Swan Creek School and Hall. She treasured the friendships that she established while helping to build the community with such projects as dances, balls, kitchen teas, sports and fun days, tuck shops, Christmas tree, gift distribution, carpet bowls. When children started high school in South Grafton, May involved herself again in the school tuck shop. May encouraged her children in education which suited their individual personalities, aptitudes and needs. Between the years of 1960 and 1970, May enjoyed annual holiday trips to Woolai with her husband and children. During this time, she had the opportunity to catch up with two particular friends, Shirley Hollister from high school and Jean Say from her days at Gerard's department store. It was a wonderful time for the adults and children alike. From 1970 onwards, May's children were leaving the family nest and beginning their individual adventures. In 1972, she was sewing her eldest daughter Margaret's wedding dress. In 1977, May welcomed her first grandchild, Gregor Lucas Casely. One by one, Mary's children married, extended the family in such loved grandchildren. This is the time when May's knitting began in earnest. The honour roll of the grandchildren reads as follows. It spans 25 years. Gregor was born in 1977. Anne was born in 1982. Lauren in 1982. Sam in 1984, as was Conrad, also in 1984. Then Tom in 1987. Kendrick in 1988. Now you'll forgive me, Tharvan, how do you pronounce? Thank you, mate. Born in 1989, Emmeline in 1989, Talia in 1991, Meg in 91, Ava in 1999, and in 2002 was Farron. And that's the honour roll of the grandchildren of May. From 1956 to 1971, May worked with her husband Trevor at their first farm. She learnt to milk cows and create a dairy stud, as well as how to prepare cattle for sale. She did all this whilst caring for her family and their growing needs, establishing a productive vegetable and flower garden, preserving the year's supply of fruit whenever the fruit matured, and continuing to church and community, not to mention also making of the family clothes. In 1971, May moved with her family, minus Margaret, who had gone to Teachers' College in Lismore, to the present farm at Almara. On the new farm at Almara, they worked with adaptability and resourcefulness during trying times between 1971 and 1983. There were devastating floods in 74 and 76. There was very little income was forthcoming. Resourcefulness was paramount to survival, as it was for other farmers. In 1983, Trev returned to the farm to help his parents expand its operation. May was glad to have his company and help. They enjoyed many jokes together, because May had a very punny sense of humour, and she would often use that word in celebration. May enjoyed friendships gained through the breeding of Holsteins, Cyril and Cynthia James, the Beaumont family, the Paulsons and the Whites. They were friendships through her love of gardening, particularly flowers, Dulcie, Lillian and Belle. Things May could make. She created so many things: cattle rugs from potato bags, wedding dresses, children's clothes, embroidered items, knitting jumpers to her own patterns, girls' swimwear and rash shirts, curtains and cushions, repairs including clocks, stretched sewing, wreaths, reupholstery, soft toys. She taught herself with books before YouTube. Things May did. She played classical music. She played cricket with the youngsters and was the natural leg spinner. Watercolour, painting and drawing. She played tennis. She sang joyfully. At 78, She played sports games in the game console with much to her own and everybody else's joy. Played imaginative games with her grandchildren. In 2015, May's daughter Helen and her husband arrived to live locally. At the time, Mabel was able to do her own shopping and go for drives, while Trevor had his licence. Then Trevor handed in his driver's licence in 2018 at the age of 90. May was supported in her needs and interests by Helen, who gradually helped them manage their affairs as well as facilitating excursions. Helen introduced them to Zoom Church and took them to various excursions, eventually obtaining a home care package which enabled May to have help with cleaning and drives to the much-loved Forget-Me-Nots. Helen began taking May to the library, which reunited her with a long love of reading novels. May's daughter Helen facilitated her parents' mobility when they lost their autonomy, engaged the fine-tuning of medicines to make life more comfortable. 2025, May declining health led her, together with Trevor, her husband, into full-time care at Wyndham Nursing Home in April of this year. Everything May did, she approached with optimistic enthusiasm. And that's the lady that we respectfully have. May's declining health led her, together with her husband Trevor, into full-time care. And that was in April. And this is where May was when she returned to God's kingdom. Thank you, Gregor, for that. Well, it looks like it was a two. Okay, thank you for that. I have asked today for the family to share their lives with us. Perhaps this is a brave thing to do because people can't always express what they want to at that moment. But the courageous souls of the family tree have come forward, and the first person I'm going to ask to share her experiences is Flora. Flora is 9. Hello, Flora. How good of you to come and do this, and to thank you for helping us sing earlier too. That was really great. Thank you. You tell us.
I'm going to read it for Flora. Might be a bit difficult. Grandma was everything I could have wanted for a great-grandma. She means everything to me. And I wasn't ready for it, but none of us were. I would have given anything to be with her at her last moment, because she means the world to me. And I was lucky to get to know her. As we speak, Grandma drifts to the garden of eternal peace as God guides her forth. And just like most books, they have happy endings. maybe that's because life will give you enough sad ones. But we move on. Grandma lived her full life, and when she passed away, they were all there for her. 3 things I will miss about her are her smile, her laugh, her hugs. That's all.
Thank you, Flora. Thank you, Flora. That was lovely. Moving along in that family tree, Tom is about to talk to us. I thank you that Alice, his wife, has already supported me in song. Thank you.
As I stand before you today, I found myself reflecting on the vivid and cherished memories of Grandma. Memories that I know that you will share, and perhaps that might be unique to me. From my earliest childhood through the end of university, every holiday brought a sense of anticipation, as Grandma and Pa would always be there to collect me from the train station, ready to welcome me into another holiday of hard work and joy. I'd spend my days milking cows and working the farm with my special Uncle Trev. There were always 5 square meals a day, each one generously served with the secret ingredient of love. Up before dawn and later resting as the 7:30 report came on, I never heard Grandma complain. Never once did she say she was too tired. There was only the quiet expectation that hungry boys would finish their food. Some meals were a struggle, especially if there was a detour to Adrian's, where a hearty entree was served before the main course. And yet Grandma carried it all with such grace. Even when there were up to 3 smelly hormonal teenage boys that were underfoot. The only signs of annoyance came when wet grass was tramped onto the carpet, or that one time the special cabinet downstairs stood in the way of a glorious on-drive. What stood out to me even then was Grandma's unwavering loyalty and dedication to Pa and her family. She lived her faith with quiet devotion, and in the truest sense, hospitality was second nature to her. I recall her claim that the best scones were always made with the least amount of preparation, and those scones truly were some of her best. Grandma was also known for a sharp mind, quick wit, and a love of crosswords. But if you ever played Scrabble with her, you would know that her competitive spirit, though quiet, was as fierce as any. I learned this at a young age, maybe 11 or 12. I can still picture her as an unsuspecting young kid, glint in her eye. I'd left it wide open, placing the word jackal on the triple word score, with J conveniently placed on the double letter, and an A forming another triple word. Her voice excitedly announcing, "And that's 107 points to me." No wonder Pa preferred to sit out when the Scrabble came out. And then, of course, there was Grandma's garden, her pride and joy. I have vivid memories of bonding with her over her beautiful daylilies. She taught me how to pollinate the plants, crossbreeding different colours and shapes to create new ones. And naturally, I was hooked. Grandma was always so thoughtful, carefully documenting each cross, saving the seeds, and showing me the new blooms the following year. As a child, I probably took for granted just how special she was. I didn't know any different. As I've grown older, I came to understand the depth of her warmth, character, and the legacy that she's created for all of us. and Pa. And now, as I watch Flora, my own child, with the same connection to Grandma, I feel profoundly grateful. What a blessing it was that they were able to build such a special, long-lasting bond. Grandma, your love, values and your wit and your strength have flowed through our generations. Many great-grandchildren with your name in theirs, and your legacy will continue to guide us all. You're deeply loved and will carry you on. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom. I'd now like to invite May's daughter Helen to share what she has to share with us about her mum.
We'll see how we go. Who knows where the term cut and paste came from? Well, I can tell you. I cut off part of the speech and left it at home. So here's the abbreviated part. Mum was my guide and teacher through life. As a child, she nurtured my interests and encouraged me in my weaknesses. She empowered us to be our best selves and to recognise that the divine took precedence over the self. Mum would try her hand at anything but driving and public speaking. She was our electrician, our plumber, house painter, librarian, entertainment director, and supplier of innovative solutions to problems that often occurred during our growing up years. When I left home to teach at Temora, I thought I'd relocated to the ends of the earth. I rang Mum in desperation, and she challenged me with the idea that if I helped just one little child, it would be worth my being there. You see, Mum knew my heart and what made it tick. She saw all our hearts. When each of her 4 children were born, Mum bravely caught the bus to Temora. We loved it as we had Mum all to ourselves for 2 to 3 weeks per baby. We were able to share our common interests in sewing, gardening and reading, while she imparted her wisdom on rearing children. She lovingly knitted priceless warm garments for the babies and children to battle Temora's freezing winters and underheated farmhouses. The children loved their fun-loving grandma coming to stay. Mostly, though, we travelled to Grafton as Grandma's world was tied to the farm and her cherished husband and her beloved garden. I loved the repartee around the table as we talked, discussed, listened and laughed over endless pots of tea. I missed this sorely when I returned to Temora, but tried to replicate it around my own table. 10 years ago, I retired and returned to nearby Yamba with Graham. I now had the privilege of watching Mum move into the confines that come with old age. Battling with health issues, it became harder to keep the garden in order and offer the same quality of hospitality she'd freely given. She now had more time for cryptic crosswords, her word games like Scrabble, bananagrams and upwards, and reading. I watched with delight Mum's joyous interactions with her grandchildren and great-grandchildren, drawing pictures of fairies and making up stories, finding a toy that might solve a shyness or an ice block as her trump card. She was always a favourite patient in the emergency department at Grafton Hospital with her positive, cheerful disposition. With a gaping wound and severe bruising, when asked how she was, the standard reply was, "Except for all the things wrong with me, I'm doing okay." Or when things suddenly became extremely quiet in the emergency room, Mum called out, "Did someone say KFC?" To conclude, Mum lived to her capacity, showed gratitude to those who helped her on her journey, was graceful in accepting her situation and blessings in life. As she aged, so did her spiritual depth. She achieved all this with her devoted, lifelong companion and friend. They lived in sync with each other for 75 official years and 81 since they became boyfriend and girlfriend. And that's where I finish because I cut and pasted the rest.
Annie, don't go too far, dear, because I think you're next. You're happy. Please come ahead.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bree. It is my honour today to speak on behalf of my beautiful sister-in-law, Lauren, for her beautiful grandma. And may I just say that Grandma really lived up to her role of great ma for my kids, Nellie and Chevy, and was a truly special female figure for my husband, Conrad, and all of his siblings, Emmeline and Kenrick and Lauren, as well as Kathy and Kim, and I'm sure many other people in this room as well. And as a bit of a ring-in to the Starr family and the rest of this extended family, I just wanted to say that it was an absolute privilege to know her myself as well. So these are Lauren's memories in her words. In memory of Grandma. Grandma lived a life filled with joy, laughter, and love. She knew how to embrace life fully, from the dairy farm bales to the warmth of her kitchen. She made every moment count. Many people have told me over the years how much I resemble her, and I've always taken that as the highest compliment. But it wasn't just in looks that we were alike. We shared something even more precious. Our love of singing our hearts out loud and proud, filling the dairy with melodies that seemed to make the very walls smile. Those moments of joy, belting out songs without a care in the world, are treasures I'll carry with me always. But perhaps what I'll miss most is her infectious laughter. That wonderful knee-slapping, full-bodied laugh that could light up any room. She had a sense of humour that could find the fun in anything, and her warmth drew people to her like daylilies to the sun. Her laughter wasn't just a sound, it was a feeling. And may her song continue in all of us. I'll forever be in awe of how she made me the most beautiful and unique Year 10 formal dress in one day. That pretty much sums up her immense talent and commitment to bringing joy to her loved ones. I will miss her terribly, but know what a rare gift it was to have such an outstanding lady in our lives for so long. Thank you.
I feel inspired and encouraged by the words of family. And Annie, would you like to contribute, please? Do you feel up to? Is anybody else that would like to say something? Helen. Thank you, Helen. Margaret, I called you Helen.
I'm Margaret, yes.
The age is catching up.
I have a poem that we shared with Mum as she passed, and I'd like to say it because I think it describes her faith. I will sing praises to you, O light, for I desired to come to you. The light has become a wreath round my head, and I shall not depart from it, so that the emanations of self-will may not rob it from me. And though all matters be shaken, yet shall I not be shaken. And though all matters perish and remain in chaos, yet shall I not perish. For the light is with me, and I myself am the light. Mum was the most dependable, adaptable, artistic and practical person that I have ever known. She was also frugal, never wasting a scrap if she thought that it had potential. Above all, she was a deeply spiritual person who expressed her love for fellow human beings through her will. From her vision of potential in everything, we grew up believing that we could make our way in the world. Mum was a natural teacher whose patience and ingenuity helped us untangle English homework. She helped me to love the beauty, power, and etymology of words. We were blessed by Mum's example of busy hands. She was an inspiration, tutoring us in knitting, sewing, and floral decoration. One bare winter, Mum wanted to make a decorative table centre. The only flowers to be found in the garden were a few yellow Mexican jasmine flowers. Undaunted, she took a piece of driftwood, added a few grasses, adding the jasmine to create a beautiful Japanese-style arrangement. Mum came from a family of gardeners. They loved the same flowers, cottage garden flowers, but particularly roses. Mum loved roses. She would speak rapturously about the opening of a rosebud. It was a joyful sight to see her nestled up to her grandchildren on the couch, looking through rose catalogues. Mum nurtured both her plants and her family. She loved them both to take root firmly in life. She often admitted that she wasn't good with plants in pots. Our wise mother had the capacity to turn the tide without disturbing anyone. She would use gesture, proverb, or prayer to do this. She never argued and had the gift of discernment. Our mother was quite an artist. She had an accurate eye for colour and a good ear for tone. She enjoyed watercolour painting, music and singing. I so much enjoyed communicating with her in these areas. Competent in English, French and Latin, Mum was a great help with homework. She was an imaginative, creative teacher with the best kind of degree: interest, love, perseverance and commitment. Our mother was courageous with a firm moral compass. She was like a lighthouse for her children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. She had an undying faith that knew no retreat. This forged a path into the future. As a young woman, she had much to adapt to when she married. She came from a family of women who were dressmakers and artists. Mum was primed to become a teacher. However, it was just after the war, so the returning men were given the available teaching jobs. So Mum became a sales assistant for model frocks in Gerard's department store in Grafton. Her honesty and eye for colour and style made her respected by the clientele. At times when she needed a new frock, she made herself a copy of one of the model frocks. Dad often said, "No one dresses to suit herself more than your mother." As we grew up, we experienced her making frocks, coats, dad's shirts, ties, layettes for babies, children's clothes and wedding dresses. She also bought an instruction book and covered a 3-piece lounge. During her life, she knitted amazing creations for her children and grandchildren. And when we ran out of bread, I was truly amazed at her replacement. Because the wood fire wasn't going, she made fried scones on the electric fry pan. Her humour knew no bounds. It was punny, subtle, and apt for the occasion. It could disarm a storm. She loved her family.
Thank you, Margaret. Beautiful. we have somebody that wishes to speak? Yes, please come forward.
Well, I'm Dorothy. I'm Mabel's sister. And, you know, it's a very sad day for us, but we've had many joyful ones. And I think maybe you might like to hear a few things she did when she was a little girl, you know, before she knew you all. Anyway. She always had a mischievous spirit, but I understood it. And anyway, even way back when I was only a little toddler, she tells me she saved me from the dog next door because he raced over and knocked me over, and, you know, she was petrified of, and she was really frightened of animals, and I don't know why, but anyway, that's when she stood up for me. She might have been terrified, but anyway, she stood up for me, and she always did. And I can truly say that we never had an argument. We didn't argue. We didn't need to argue. You know, if we had any, well, we didn't have any beefs, but we could always work things out, whatever. We had a bossy brother in between us. He was a bit bossy. But anyway, we always had happy, lovely times. And we just got to remember all those wonderful days. And unfortunately here there's a beginning and an end to everything, but while we're here, you know, we've got to learn not to waste time in trivial things that don't really matter. Just let's all be happy, love one another, and do what we can for one another. Yeah, well, there's lots of happy memories, but there was...
I've got a lot of stories. A lot of stories.
Well, even, she was a little bit vain at times, because when she was a little girl, now, I was a baby in a pram. I don't remember this. I'm only told this. My mother, our mother, told us this, that she had 4 babies, really. There was my sister, Marge. We called her Marge. Her name was Margaret, but she liked to be called Marge. Anyway, there was Marge, and then there was Mabel, and she was about 3 at the time. I was a baby in a pram, and Bill, my brother Bill, he was a toddler. And we were going to church on Sunday, and this is when we lived in Urunga on the coast. And anyway, there was a railway bridge over the railway. You know those little narrow bridges? Not big in those days. Anyway, so we're just about to go across this bridge. And you know how May was she loved flowers. Anyway, she spotted some, I don't know, bluebells, or even if they were dandelions. Anyway, she looked over. She must have looked over. I was only a baby in a pram. I just was told all this. Anyway, she goes to, at the last minute, she goes to rush over to pick these flowers, and along comes a tourer car. Thank goodness, in those days they were slow cars. Anyway, she gets bowled over, and the tourist was only chugging along, so it stops. Anyway, of course, our mother, she was petrified of what might have happened. Next thing, May calls out from underneath the car, stands and looks around, and she says, "Is my bonnet dirty?" Oh, yes. So I have to say she was a little bit vain even when she was a little girl.
Just worrying about
So,
her appearance, Mum.
yeah, she was. She was always liked to look right. She just liked that. Anyway, we had lots of fun. I could tell you lots of tales, but, you know. Oh, even the neighbours. The neighbour had a big mandarin tree, I'll tell you this. Had a big mandarin tree. And anyway, we climbed up on, right against the fence, and it hung over our garage and the neighbour's woodshed. So we sort of shared this big mandarin tree. So we'd climb up on the fence, get on the woodshed, get on our garage, and we'd be up on the roof of the garage eating mandarins after school. And the lady that lived in the house at the back, she'd spot us. "Oh, you children, be careful, you'll fall down, get down." They were all worried about us, but we had many a happy an hour on the top of the garage roof eating mandarins. We had lots of escapades. But anyway, I know we're going to remember her with love. She gave out love, and I'm going to miss her. Yeah.
Thank you, Dorothy. That's lovely. Thank you.
I'll just say while I'm here,
All right.
is that we all enjoyed going to the dairy farm, and it's just like it has been expressed that Auntie May was very hardworking, very devoted, and always worried about your stomach and making sure that you were content and happy.
Yes, thank you. That's good.
Which we were, yes. It's lots of fun to be had.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to add a few things. But
So
don't get excited about seeing these
That's all right.
pages.
Please.
Which one's working? This one?
Both
or
of them
both?
working.
All right. Well, I'm a privileged niece to be able to say that there was a lot of times that I didn't remember the memo about May because she was always Auntie Mabel to me, so I must have got away with it. But I can remember us staying on holidays when Mum would get the chance to take us to see our cousins, and we just absolutely adored it and just soaked up the atmosphere. And that kitchen was just a magnet for everybody. There was just so much going on, and Auntie Mabel just seemed to get everything done, and we had such a good time. But I know very early in the piece, before Caroline was born, that somehow at the Want household they had a special bed. It was a special magical bed because to us it seemed so huge, but no boy germs, so Trevor wasn't allowed, and Dallas, he didn't get a look in either. But all the girls would be we'd all be in the bed together, and we were like sardines. And I can remember Mum and Auntie Mabel saying, "Do you think they're going to bother to say 1, 2, 3, turn over, or are we going to hear a big bang?" Yeah, and we'd get into trouble for so much giggling, and we just couldn't help it. We'd just look at each other and off we'd go. We wouldn't have to say anything. We just enjoyed each other's company. And I know that out in the kitchen, that table became a lot of things to the family, like you said about the playing Scrabble, and you would eat at it, and it was just a lovely communal area together. But it was the most cleverest place because Auntie Mabel was this unique being that when Kathy needed this new dress, Auntie Mabel said, "Well, that's all right. Where's the pattern?" So the pattern was cut out, but she'd never use any pins. She'd have the salt and pepper, she'd have the material on the table, she'd have the pattern there, and it'd be just plonk, 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 salt and pepper over here. Oh, another bit. Oh, one of your library books, kids. We'll put that on there. And next thing it'd be cut out and she'd be making it. It was just fantastic. But I do remember it was really good because Auntie Mabel was just this super being that allowed a shelf in her fridge to hold the nail polishes. I couldn't believe it because my mum wouldn't, but anyway. And I just wanted to say that if you get to talk to Mum a little bit later, Dorothy, ask her what happened to the little girl of Simpson that used to live across the road, who just adored Auntie Mabel and Uncle Trevor, and she'd often want to go and visit. And just ask Mum to regale that story to you. But I wanted to tell you that all the lovely cooking that Auntie did, and all the welcoming, and her lovely smile that just seemed to just brighten her face all the time. It's just something to remember. She used to make beautiful treats for us, as you've heard, and one of them was the stained glass bickies. And of course, we loved eating them. They were so colourful and so yum. And thanks, Auntie, for those memories. And I just found something that reminded me of her and her smile, how it would light up her face, and also how much she had to come to endure in this last stage of her life. It was uphill go, but she was quite stoic in getting past that and not focus on it. That I'd just like to share this little bit that I'd found, this little poem. It said, "People are like stained glass windows. They sparkle and shine when the sun is out, but when the darkness sets in, their true beauty is revealed only if there is a light from within." And that's how I remember my Auntie Mabel. Yes. Thank you
so much. Such spontaneity. It's wonderful. We could spend much more time, but just to move along. May was a very special person in our lives. In my life and in yours, in some way that only you knew. I thought I knew May, everything about her. The one thing that I did learn this week was that quietly within the family, May always lived a humble and private life, and she lived and worked in the hardest industry that anybody could ever embark upon. But through her family history from Europe, she was a member of royalty, and nobody ever knew, because she was a person of the earth. I'd like to invite now, would you like to speak now? Thank you.
I'd like to share a counter-narrative of my wicked grandmother, who was the harbinger of the 4 a.m. wake-up, something I will never forgive her for. The dairy farm was a place for me of some torture. The early mornings, the porridge, the cows, this was not my scene. Grandma had to really adjust. What on earth was she going to do with me? Everything was the opposite. The farm was not my bag. Tom, happy as a clam. Conrad, they loved it. The cricket, it was a happy place. But for me, I wondered where I could find a connection with my grandmother and this land up on the coast. And what became clear to me was that I had inherited, it took a long time to come out, but I had inherited the gardening thumb, the huckleberry fin thumb, the desire to learn lots of new crafty things, the adaptability, and the faith. These were all really slow-burning connections with me and Grandma. The other thing that became clear in later life is just the deep, her serenity. That is something that I did not inherit. I am high on the neurotic scale. I like to worry and overthink everything. So for me, I am hoping that as I get older, that gene will slowly be revealed, that I will slowly learn to accept with such grace as Grandma did, a real joy and contentment with what is, and an ability to see the richness and love around her, and really sit in a degree of serenity and contentment the way that she did. That is her highest trait and something that I will always aspire to. And in good grace, I have given up ever being a 4 a.m. warrior. I still vomit if I eat porridge, and I still cannot have a drop of dairy milk, but I can only hope that those wonderful qualities of connecting to the earth through gardening, connecting to a sense of productivity and creativity through handwork, and connecting to this greater sense of divine through the spirit, that those traits of Grandma will continue to connect in me.
Thank you, granddaughter Annie. Time has raced away, but I would like to remind you before we depart that May was a devout Christian. She lived her life for people. She was a beautiful person by nature, her spirit, and Trevor testifies that she was the most beautiful girl in Grafton when he met her all those years ago. If you to ask if Mabel was here today and she was to give you her information that we've now extracted from family, she would, I'm sure, point you to the things that she believed in most. She believed in the words of our Saviour Jesus Christ with such simplicity and sincerity as I've seen in very few people. She had a great sense of humour. I remember one occasion when we were in a church school situation and we were looking at Adam and Eve's family tree, and she noted that Cain had a very long list of descendants, but Abel had none. And the curious mind of May said, well, Abel didn't have any children. And a pragmatic voice from the group said, he wasn't able. And poor May just about dissolved in hysterics because of her sense of humour. But she believed so implicitly. She lived, she loved, and she left a legacy. She lived on the fact of, she lived in hope. She gave us the joy of living. She gave us love, and she gave us an understanding of what life was to be and what life was about. I managed, in my fumbling way today, to get the hymns out of order, but that doesn't matter too much. And because nobody is familiar with the old hymn, I'll read the words instead of trying with my croaky voice to try and sing it for you. But it was indicative of May's love for humankind, and the hymn is "Blessed be the tie that binds," taken from Thessalonians and John. Blessed be the tie that binds our hearts in Christian love. The fellowship of kindred minds is like to that above. Before our Father's throne we pour our ardent prayers. Our fears, our hopes, our aims are one. Our comforts and our cares. We share our mutual woes, our mutual burdens bear, and often for each other flows a sympathising tear. So as we gather here today to mourn her passing, let's remember the beautiful life that she lived, the inspiration that she was, and the generation that she left behind, which is a wonderful gift to us. Would you all please stand while I offer a prayer of benediction? Oh God, our Father, bless us this day as we celebrate the life of May. She has touched our lives and brought meaning to us, and chose to live the most humble of lives in service. We ask that you will bless Trevor and the family as they readjust their lives, but to rejoice always in the gift that they enjoyed in May as a wife, a mother, grandma, and an inspiration to those whom she knew. We thank you, Lord, for the charity today of people's hearts who come to remember her. We ask that you bless us all with the presence of your Spirit. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you.
We do have a photographic tribute to play on the screen.
Oh yes, I've missed something else. This is the difficulty of being apart. There is the photographic memories. Thank you.
Did you want that?
Yes, please. Yeah, I think if you'll be seated, we'll watch that as the finale. What a beautiful collection of memories. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing this day. And as we continue to think of May and the effect she's had in our life, I thank you all so very sincerely for coming. Would you stand, please?